Hey everyone, welcome to ImageOut, and we are celebrating our 30th anniversary this year, 2022. And I'm so glad you could join us. And I even feel happier that we have the writer and director and the lead star of Erin's Guide to Kissing Girls,
That's it.
one of our virtual only films in the lineup. But we're glad that we could do this conversation in addition to the film. So please welcome Juliana Notten and Elliot Stocking.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, you both look so good.
Thank you.
Um,
Hotel room lighting.
Yeah.
that's the only thing I hate about this Zoom. You just never know what you're gonna get. Uh, and so my first question is, well, I know, is this your debut film, Juliana?
This is my first feature film. I've done some short films before, including a
Yeah.
short that the feature was based off of. But yeah, this is my debut feature film.
Well, I'm glad that it's working out for you as far as getting noticed by film festivals, and hopefully, because it hasn't really done much yet, right? It's still kind of like in the beginning of
Yeah,
its
we're in the
festival
beginning of
life.
our festival run, so it's been really amazing over the last 2-3 weeks to start to hear our very first audience reactions and how people are liking
Yeah,
it. Mostly been very positive, which is very gratifying.
I think that's one of the most satisfying thing about putting out your work there or your art there is to get people's reaction. Not that, of course, it always matters, but it's just nice to see what kind of feedback you're gonna get.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so I want to ask. I love the film because it is set in middle school,
Hmm.
which, as a programmer for a an LGBTQ film festival, um, we don't usually see a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and we want to make sure that we still offer films like that for younger people, because they're the future.
Hmm.
But also, most importantly, here at Image Out, we have a program that we call Next Generation Series,
Cool.
and it's focused on uh, people younger than 25. So we put together a lineup of films for them so they can watch them for free if they choose to.
Oh,
That's
that's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and your film is one of them because we want to make sure that
That's so great.
we your films would reach the audience that you want you want to see the film.
Yeah.
So middle school, because usually you see a lot of films set in high school,
Hmm.
um, or young college kids.
Hmm.
So why middle school? It's I
I'm
don't know
really
if
glad. Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Like it was very intentional that I wanted it to be this age group, and even while I was writing and developing, I had a number of people say like, well, could they be in high school, blah blah. But it was very important to me to portray this age group, because like you said, I felt like there was really nothing out there for queer kids of 13, 14, like preteen age. Like the earliest things that you see are like late high school or university. Um, and with like the age of the internet and people just be having more of a language that I didn't have at that age, like they are feeling more comfortable to come out younger and younger, and are looking to see themselves represented. And so, yeah, I really wanted to make this film for those youth.
so. Did you have to do some because you mentioned that about the language of that generation. Did you have to do some research on how they talk and what they talk about? Um,
Yeah, well, I mean, I did like some research in the sense that I reread my old grade 8 diary, which was painful. But I tried as best as possible to capture this feeling, that I remember of, being in grade 8 while still being true to what it's like to be a youth nowadays. And once like we had cast Elliot and Jessica and Rosie, who play the three leads, I said right from the start, like, I have done like my best here, but like the truth is I'm not 13 or 14 in 2021. And so I'm relying on the three of you to tell me when something doesn't feel authentic, and they did.
I think you did a pretty good job of one of my favorite things is there's like a classroom, and on the wall it says disrespect, that's sus, which is like the perfect balance, because like also I don't think I really realized this until it was like we were started working on things. Like you can't predict what the language of the youths is going to look like in like from like when you film to like when it's actually going to be released. So you can't go too hard on like what's current then.
Yeah, we didn't want it to feel like too much of a time capsule of like just that year. And so it was like this fine balance of making sure it felt authentic without being like so specific of like the time of like the memes that are already like dated by the time we're in post-production.
So. Well, you started talking about the casting, and one of the things I like about the film also is the group of actors that you work with uh, feel like they're actually middle school people, middle school kids. Because you get a lot of these films about youth and high school and all that, and these actors are like 30 years old. I hope Elliot is not 30 years old, but
no.
But I guess what I'm saying is it felt authentic, and and I think when young people are watching, they connect even better when they could tell that it's their peers that's actually playing them on screen. So how did you find specifically your three leads, and including Elliot, how did you find this great actors to work with for the film?
Well, we started the casting process in January, February of 2020. And actually, Elliot, Jessica, and Rosie, the three leads, all came in and auditioned for ERIN. And we knew, like, for all three of them that like we had to find a role for them. So it was sort of like trying to like find the puzzle piece of like who fit which character kind of thing. And we did a lot of like chemistry reads. Like I had a lot of besides just like auditioning them and seeing like their acting skills, I would like talk to them and like try to figure out like who they were as people as well, and if I could like work with them. And Elliot in particular, like as soon as they came in, like was ERIN. And they like, you have this great story. I don't know if you want to say
like with the check.
Yeah.
So in the character description, like for the sides, it's like ERIN is like a spunky 13-year-old wearing like a denim jacket covered in like a variety of pins, like queer pins, science pins, like comics, whatever assortment of things. And I just like went right to my closet and I pulled out my go-to jean jacket, which is literally at least 15 different enamel pins.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So and that's what I wore to the audition.
And they walked into the audition room and we were like, wow, this kid either has like a really good agent or they just are ERIN.
Yeah.
And it was the sort of thing where casting at this age, we didn't want to make it like you have to be queer in order to have this role, because they like these kids may be queer but like not out yet kind of thing. But we said if you feel comfortable self-identifying, we would encourage that kind of thing. And Elliot right off the bat was like, I really connect to this character, like I myself am queer and like have like come out in the last couple years, and like I
had like a really similar coming out timeline to like ERIN, the main character. I like in late middle school and like being the only out kind of kid, and it's like it of yourself, but it takes like a certain kind of confidence to like do that. And I know a lot of my other friends who are queer and who have come out over the years like really did not know that about themselves that early on. So
yeah, and that's the sort of thing, like lived experience is like you can teach other things, but you can't teach lived experience. So that was, yeah, very important.
I have a follow-up question to that, but I would like to ask Elliot first. Is this your first film, or have you done other films prior to this?
This is my first anything. Like I've not done any acting other than like school plays. It was kind of funny too because like the casting happened like before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And then obviously there's like just waiting to see like what's gonna happen. Yeah. It's like, okay, so we're gonna because I also like I hadn't signed anything yet. It was just like, oh, we're considering you for this role, but like there's this massive health crisis that maybe we should be thinking about. So it was delayed filming for a year. So I kind of just like assumed that it was just bad luck and I wasn't going to get to be a part of the project. And between that time of like originally auditioning and like working to be like a part of it, and then when we actually started like working on the film, I like kind of took a break from acting because I wasn't enjoying it so much anymore. So I was like, maybe I don't want to do this. And then I would like get this call where it's like, hey, so we still want you to be this cool part that's amazing. And I was like, yes. What? Yeah, so this is like my first experience with anything.
Yeah,
and
which
it's
is
been crazy.
Absolutely wild because like the professionalism that like not only Elliot but like all the young actors brought to set was incredible. And like even things like hitting your mark, which is like you have like a piece of tape on the ground that you have to hit it like every time to make sure that everything's in focus, like picked up on it right away. Like
the school plays, remember, I've got
some
yeah,
they did do school plays, but in general like the professionalism was really awesome and made my job very easy.
Yeah, I imagine. So even though my phone is ringing. Let me just turn it off. Call me. Anyway, so Elliot, even though this is your first film project, you've always been interested in acting because you've done plays, right? Um, so I was gonna ask, so if you haven't had an experience, what got you interested in responding to the casting call for this film?
Yeah, I was always like a theater kid, and then I was interested. I did a lot of like stage stuff, like camps and all that. And then I was like, oh, I'm kind of interested in like looking into film and television. And so I got like we emailed a bunch of different agencies in Toronto, and I was eventually like able to sign with this one. And then so like she's the one who set up the audition and everything. And I think also like in terms of the absolute luck of being a part of this, like I'm sort of trying to remember that not all films, like if any, are this like the whole crew and cast, we're all like young, a lot of queer people, like women, non-binary people, like a lot of really, really just awesome, cool people who are underrepresented in the film industry a lot. So I think that's just like part of everybody that was working on it. And then of course the story being something like really I could relate to and really dear to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's probably a great environment for your first film. And you might not get that all the time, but hopefully you'll be happy with your next projects. So back to Juliana, I was just wondering, um, so why a story about a queer kid? I'm also thinking it's um, Erin's character is more non-binary to me than anything else.
Yeah, I feel like that's Elliot infusing a bit of themselves into it.
Yeah.
The character wasn't written as non-binary. I remember having a conversation because there was this year in between casting. I think you had figured it in that time or something, or at least we weren't aware of it in casting. And so when we got on the Zoom call with you a year later, I said, do you want me to workshop the character with you, and you basically said like I'm comfortable
Yeah.
playing the character as is. But I feel like
like
that comes through.
I identify as like genderqueer, but then like again, it's when I was at that age, I sort of knew that about myself. But I think like with sexuality, it's a little bit, well, okay, maybe not that easy to hide. I was pretty you could pin me down as a queer pretty easy. But like I think I was less sure of that aspect of myself. So I think even if Erin was like non-binary or like genderqueer or wherever she falls on the spectrum, I think that's like a more complicated thing.
Yeah, that may come later. Yeah, and like why I wanted to tell this story, it's something that I wish that I had at that age. Like I've been calling this film a love letter to my younger self, and it's just like I wish I could have been like as open and unapologetically myself as Erin is. I certainly share a lot of traits with Erin in terms of like just feeling everything so bigly and like not really being able to like keep a cool head or whatever at that age. And and so I wanted to be able to talk about that time in my life while also doing a little bit of wish fulfillment and saying like I wish I could have been as cool as Elliot.
Oh, don't you.
So you kind of mentioned this earlier about working with Elliot in developing the character, maybe, or so that was my other question. Did you find yourself developing the characters even more while shooting, and now that you have your actors casted for the roles, um, was it how you wrote it, or it just grew as you went along?
Yeah, I mean, a little column A, a little column B. Like we spent a lot of time, while we were waiting to film. Like we had maybe a year of rehearsals, maybe less than a year, where we spent a lot of time talking about the characters, and many of the things that Elliot and Jessica and Rosie said did impact like changes that I made. The biggest one I think was like I talked to Jessica Gu, who plays Liz.
Yeah.
And originally, her character of Liz is supposed to be going to like a super like smart private school for like geniuses or whatever. And
that's very Asian.
Exactly. Well, yeah, she is Chinese, and so like I was like, how do you feel about this? Because like, is it like, do you feel like it's maybe like perpetuating some stereotypes here or whatever? And she was like, yeah, I think it might be cool if like Liz was like an art student or she was like into track or whatever. And I was really into cross country and like track and field when I was a young kid. So I was like, I feel like I can quote unquote run with this. So and so like we worked together to develop that aspect of her character a little bit more. And Elliot, Jessica, Rosie were so generous with me in terms of like being honest about what they thought, felt authentic or not. And like they loved these characters. Like I feel like you really like you love Erin. And
I actually was talking with my dad yesterday, and I said exactly like because like I know a lot of actors don't like watching themselves perform, but like to me, I love the character so much. She's such a dork.
Yeah.
And she's such a sweetheart. And I just want the best for her. And and so much love.
I think that really comes through, like the care that they had for these characters and that they wanted to like really portray them authentically. And so, I can take partial credit, but like, I think the credit.
I mean, you wrote great characters.
Thank you.
So,
but they did help like really breathe life into them and make them come alive, which is.
I agree. Going back to the non-binary aspect of the character, I like though that it would resonate more to a lot of young people, because at that age, people don't know who they really are. I mean, they might have an inclination of what they think they want, but they're still feeling it out,
Mhm.
who they are. And that's what I love about Elliot's character. It's because it's very easy to portray Erin's character as a tomboy, like
Mhm.
just always looking rugged and riding
Yeah.
bikes
Hmm.
and all that. But I love that um, Erin loves to accessorize. She
Yeah.
Oh
has
yeah, absolutely.
long
She's a fashion
earrings,
icon.
Yeah.
and she's not opposed to wearing dresses. Because
Mhm.
it's very stereotypical in films like this that, oh my God, I don't want to
Mhm.
wear a dress.
Yeah.
So she doesn't care,
Mhm.
and it's just like uh, she can be whatever. So that's what I like
Mhm.
about
Hmm.
the development of that character.
Yeah.
Um, my other question is, you have a lot of great backstories to the characters,
Hmm.
and you kind of discuss uh, what what went on with the character Liz that you spoke to
Mhm.
Jessica about it. Um, how did you come up with the backstory for what's her name?
Oh,
Uh,
Sydney?
Sydney?
for Sydney, that
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
like a child actor.
Yeah. I mean, we went back and forth because we wanted like that character to have like some status, like, and so like, it's not just Erin who's kind of like obsessed with her, like the whole class is kind of, and that sort of influences Erin's like rise to coolness.
Hmm.
And so like we talked about like maybe her parents are famous, or like maybe she's an influencer and blah blah. And I just thought it would be like so interesting for this character if she had this whole like secret like life as this 6 7 year old child star who is now trying to escape that, and like almost kind of when you hear about those Disney stars that try to go in the total opposite
Hmm.
direction to distance themselves from that.
Hmm.
And so she starts off like having all of these like walls up and like not willing to engage with anyone. And
Hmm.
it's really this relationship and friendship that's forming with Erin that allows her to later on maybe like drop those walls a little bit, which is very important to like to her journey.
Hmm.
um yeah, because I wanted not just Erin, but like all of like especially the three leads to have like their own like growth and arc, and so
Hmm.
that felt like just a natural and fun way to do it.
Yeah. Sydney is like very cool without trying or wanting it. And
Yeah,
Erin is trying so hard and
yeah,
she wants it so bad.
they're good foils for each
She's
other.
yeah, they're it's a good dynamic.
Yeah.
But I also love that there's not a whole lot of drama. I mean,
Hmm.
just regular drama, a little bullying
Yeah.
here, you're bullying that, but you also build strong characters that
Mhm.
are just not gonna be put down by anyone.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I love that while the adults, are there, supportive or otherwise, it's not really about them. This film is
No.
not about
Yeah.
them, and very little of them are seen or
Yeah.
known. I don't even know that we saw Aaron's parents. Did we?
No. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I had a scene at one point and it just felt forced.
yeah,
Yeah, it was important to me to sort of like stay in the world of kid, and like
Hmm.
when the parents are there, they're in and they're out kind of thing. Because I feel like you are sort of in your own bubble when you are at that
yeah.
age.
Hmm.
And the biggest like adult in their life is the teacher,
Yeah.
which is also like true of that age. And so
Yeah.
I really wanted it to feel like world of kid.
There's also like there's little details like when Erin's house has like
Mhm.
these like rainbow
Mhm.
strings near the front. So like but like again it's very true to that age where it's like oh yeah your parents love you or like
Yeah.
whatever or like but like all of the important things to you are like your peers,
Mhm.
school, crushes, like
Mhm.
it's everything. Like the parents are just not a
Yeah.
part of it at
Yeah,
all.
I didn't want it to sort of be like, and the mom's going through a divorce on the
Yeah.
side, like, and here's what's going on with the
Yeah.
mom. Yeah. So
And that's why these kids are like this because of what's
Hmm.
going on at home. So
Hmm.
exactly.
I love that about the film, and it changes the dynamics once you bring in the adult story.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's why it's kind of I love that you left it all out
Yeah.
in the editing room or the story.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the other adult is the owner of
Oh, yes.
the comic
Yes.
books.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mentioned that because I want to segue into. Did you really write it with the comic book aspect of it in
Mm-hmm.
there? And was that really the Luna and
Lunar Girl and Scarlet Sparrow.
yeah, is that an actual one?
I mean, it is now, but I created it for the film.
Oh,
It's really great,
wow.
actually. The illustrator of the comic,
Yes.
is he has a little cameo.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really fun.
Was he the one in line?
Yes.
Yes,
No,
yes. No cuts.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's the actual
I figured
illustrator.
I'm like, he probably did something for the film because he
Yeah.
was in line.
Yeah. That but
So
yeah,
it, did
it was
did you
like
have to produce some comics, because it's
yeah,
part
yeah.
of their story.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Mhm.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the music.
Oh
Um,
Mm.
my gosh.
are they original music for the film, or because I'm not familiar with any of them, or maybe I'm just not that cool that I'm not familiar with the music.
Well, all the soundtrack music, like everything with lyrics, that's pre-existing music. That is a lot of the artists who we chose are actually like local to Canada specifically. A lot of them are like from Toronto. A lot of them are queer. I wanted to be able to use local talent as much as possible. And I agree, like the soundtrack is amazing. I listen to it all the time. And then we also had a score composed by our very talented composer, Bryce, who lives in Calgary.
I think there's also, you wanted to get like a Janelle Monáe
Oh
song
my
in
gosh.
there,
We
but
didn't have the budget for that.
the soundtrack is the
Yeah.
one that I like, girls kind of jazzy
Yeah,
number
yeah.
that's stuck in my head always.
I, well, the first song that you introduced while
Mhm.
she was vandalizing the
Yeah. That's
uh,
Tika, who's
yeah, the
also
bus the
from.
bus stop thing. That
Yeah.
was cute also. It caught my attention right away. It's like, oh, I bet this film will have good music in
Oh
it.
yeah.
Uh, and after, when the credits were rolling, I was checking all the songs. Like, oh,
Yeah.
these are by different different singers. It's not
Yeah.
just you just didn't work with one artist to
Yeah.
develop some songs. So
Yeah.
that is very cool about that too. And
Yes.
when your film has good soundtrack, it
Yeah.
also um, attracts some interest that
Yeah.
it
Well,
might not otherwise attract.
we can thank Michaela Simmons for that, who was our music supervisor. She was awesome to work with.
It was really fun at the educational screening last night. There's like, I forget what point it was, but there's one pretty like upbeat, catchy song, and at one point everybody was kind of just like bopping along, and yeah, the music really brings like a great energy.
And the music sounds young,
Mhm,
so
yes.
that's what I like about it too.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about the music is like that whole part of the process was also very important to me, because when you don't have like necessarily the language to talk about how you're feeling at that age, music is a big way of like how you express yourself. And so, we go from all ends of the spectrum to sort of like help portray like where the characters are at emotionally when they can't physically say it.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is step 4,
Yeah.
when Erin is learning how to flirt, and
Yeah.
yeah,
that's
and
really
she
fun.
was going through, putting on different clothes and having all these dorky lines, and I'm like, oh wow, even I could relate to that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so with the film's title, Erin's Guide to Kissing Girls,
Hmm.
I was wondering why you held back and did not do a kiss. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't
That
know that that's a spoiler, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know how much I can say without getting too spoilery, except that like
yeah.
it was definitely a point of contention in terms of like, and I went back and forth like kiss or not to kiss kind of thing.
Mhm.
But it, to me, again, it's not, I like that it's a bit of a misnomer. and it's not so much about like, you know, this destination and more about what Erin finds along the way, not to get too cheesy. But yeah, like I feel like Erin starts the film with this goal, and she's very like, you know, hell-bent on like making it happen. And it's more about like the different ways that she finds ways to show love, and like different types of love that come up throughout the film. And also just on like another, it felt, to add a kiss in, again without getting too spoilery, like felt like too much like a movie moment to me, and not like necessarily authentic for like where these characters were at in their journey. And you know, when I was 13, like I thought that like slow dancing and like hand holding was like the height of romance. And like
I think like not having the kissing was like it's again staying true to that age group. Like my 8th grade girlfriend, like the furthest we went was some pretty intense hand holding during a Stranger Things watching binge. So like, and I think like also when you're at that age and you're queer, there's a lot more things involved. Like it's not just, oh I like you, and then you kiss. Like there's a lot more uncertainty there, and I think it's again like just staying true to the age
so
group.
I'm sorry to anyone who's like upset that there's no kiss, but it it just didn't feel authentic for the characters.
No, but I was gonna say that I was gonna add that even though there's not a kiss, I think what Erin got in the end was better than a kiss.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You'll
have to watch it to find out what that is.
Yeah.
Subtle plug.
Yeah.
So I was also wondering, what was the reasoning or the intention behind switching them into costumes?
Yeah.
At the end.
I mean, I to me, this thread of this comic that's so important to them, like was very like central to the story. And it's just sort of a way that like Erin communicates through like these
like
fanfic comics that she's writing. And it's so important to them that it just felt like, you know, this moment where it's just the two of them. And
I think like the fact that everybody else is like disappearing and they just get to be in their own little world. Like I remember when I read like they as they turn, there's a flash and like they're now in costume, like and I had to like put it out. Oh, that's that's just so like tugging on all the heartstrings. It's like just so authentic and so tender and sincere.
But it's nice though that you dropped the headdresses.
We thought about that. Didn't love that I put her in that pink wig a number of times.
It's just you put enough costume there to you know, to convey what you wanted to do, but you drop things that would make it look cheesy.
Exactly.
Well, I don't want to keep you any longer, and certainly this chat has gone longer than I thought it would. I surprised I remember so much detail from the movie. But I was just wondering if you are ready to talk about what's next for you as far as projects, because my hope is that this exposure, you know, with this film, would give you attention that is deserved for both of you, for Elliot and you, Juliana. So I was just wondering what's next.
Do you want to go first, or should I?
I'll go first because mine is more simple. I'm currently finishing my 12th year at Tobacco School of the Arts in Toronto in the contemporary art program. So like over the years, I've been kind of like shifting away from like acting and performance to more like visual and contemporary work. So I'm not sure what the future looks like acting wise. Obviously, if every single project was like this one, of course, I'd love to keep going, but I know that's not how it works. But now I'm more just looking into like post-secondary stuff and maybe coming back to the film industry, but like in set design or like art department or I don't know. I'm a teenager, so kind of just like I'm gonna do something at
It
some
changes.
point.
It changes every day, or at least
Yeah,
every
Yeah,
week.
exactly.
exactly.
And
No,
then
but do keep your plan. Well, do keep your interest in being in front of the camera because you did very well and you were
oh, thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Really. If you need anybody.
Yeah, and for myself, I will be starting to write my next feature when I get back from this festival run. I got a little bit of funding to do that. And it's a sister story that takes place over the New Year's Eve of Y2K. And then I also have a television series idea called Well, That's Just Super, which follows 4 queer teens who develop superpowers after a biology project goes wrong.
Wow.
And I'm really excited about that one. I'm
So
excited.
am I.
Yeah.
So am I.
I'll
It's gonna
keep
be
you all
so good.
posted. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for spending some time with us here at ImageOut, and
Thank you.
we hope to see you more in the future and feature some of your films, in the future, and maybe finally come to Rochester and screen in a theater
Yeah.
and be in an actual talk back on stage. So
Absolutely. We would love that.
thanks again.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much, Michael. So cute.